Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Teeth Matter. I'm your host, Ellie Halabian, DDS. And if you're in New York, you are experiencing some extreme heat. I gotta tell you, it's been so hot. I've made time to go out by the beach. I mean, it is summer. I've got to make some time to enjoy it. But it's going by pretty fast. It's going by so fast. Like, we're already mid-July. Summer is near the end, and I don't want to talk like that because I enjoy summer. We wait so long for summer to come in New York. We go through so many harsh winter, cold, dark days to have this heat and the sun and this weather. So I'm trying to be positive, but it just reminds me of how much time has passed and how quickly time passes. And this episode, I'm actually bringing on my friend, Dr. Avi Patel. He actually was on the podcast when I first started over a year ago, and that's what I mean. Time has passed so quickly. And since then, he's grown his following. He's retired from clinical dentistry. He's been claimed Dental Influencer of the Year. He's basically is a trailblazer when it comes to social media for dentistry. And so this conversation is a little bit different from the first conversation we had. It focuses on social media, how he started, what his intentions are, how he creates content, and what he thinks are the trends in dentistry or in social media and how dentists can leverage that. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Let's dive in. Before we dive in, did you know that we're getting ready to launch Teeth Matter Hangouts? It's an exclusive online membership community that gives you access to monthly meetups, 24/7 online support, plus exclusive membership perks when it comes to career development and professional development courses. So if you're interested, feel free to DM us on Instagram or email us at info@teethmatterpod, as in podcast.com. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Avi Patel, welcome back to Teeth Matter. This is round 2 for you and I.
I am pumped. Thanks for having me. You've come a long way. I've been watching since I first came on, and the podcast has grown, and it's super cool to see.
Oh, thanks for saying that. Like, so much has happened in a year, not just with me in this podcast. Like, yeah, I cut my hair, but like you've gone from retiring from clinical dentistry, creating an education platform, growing your following even more, and just so much has happened. So let's just rewind a little bit and go back to like your early days when you just started creating content on YouTube, right? You're documenting your day-to-day in dentistry, and it was like, what was your vision when you were creating those videos? Did you think that like you would have this kind of social impact that you have now?
Yeah. So when I first made videos on YouTube, my wife Neha is the one who actually kind of pushed me to do it. So she introduced me to, what's her name? Her last name, Erica Kuhlberg, right? So
Okay.
Erica Kuhlberg, she's a creator. She's the one who like is it's attorney turned like gives everyone all like the travel hacks and stuff like that. So she showed me her YouTube page, and she was like, in one of those videos, Erica breaks down like how you can make content and then like build a business from it. And that was like the first time I ever heard of this. I was just like, okay. So we like went through all of her videos, and then that's when it has like, you should start doing this. And this is when I was an associate, right?
Here.
So I was like, okay, well, like, I don't know what I would talk about. And at the time I think I was on my 8th associateship. And so I was like, well, she's like, what if you start making videos about your associateships? She's like, you always have a bunch of advice. You're always trying to like tell people, like help them out, give them direction. She's like, why don't you just start making those videos? So then in January, it was, this all happened January of 2022. And so that's when I started. And I just, I went into like the Think Media content, and I watched like how to start a YouTube channel, how to record, how to edit. And then I did like a thing where I was like, all right, every week I'm going to make a video. And that's what I did. And literally I'd script it, and it would just be on stuff that I wanted to know. Like, if you just graduated dental school, like how do you get a job? Like what's good CE to take? What are red flags when you're interviewing and stuff like that? So all the things that like I had always like wished somebody told me.
Right.
I didn't really see that exist. So then I just started putting it out there, and it was kind of therapeutic because I could just share my experiences and give advice. The vision for it, back then I had no idea that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. Like definitely was not in the vision, but like I think a part of the vision definitely was this like, I want to be I think at that time I wanted to be known as the dentist who's like willing to help out the younger dentists, right? To like empower them and kind of make sure that they know that they are, able to do more than what they think they can do. So I think that's always been in my ethos. And so
Um,
now that I actually look at it, like it's wild because you know, I think I'm still doing that. It's formulated and manifested in like a slightly different way. But yeah, that was the vision.
so you had like no skill, you're doing this all self-taught, YouTube videos, whatever you can get your hands on. And then like what was the creative process? Was it like in line with your career goals or your professional goals? Like did you just want to push out as much content as you could at the time, or was it intentional what you were creating?
So at the time, I think it was under the scope of like, I just want to make sure that, you know, if there's a young dentist that's out there who wants to, you know, get some advice on like common struggles that happen,
Then
like I just wanted my videos to kind of be positioned as like a value add there. So that's kind of how I envision them to be. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, let's push out content. It was though of like the one thing that I kept saying is like you got to be consistent if you want to be successful on social media. And so I bought into that, and that's where I was like, cool, one video a week. That's what I'm gonna do. And I had to kind of like in the beginning it was super fun. It's always been fun, but then there were certain days where I'm just like, oh my god, I gotta script record and I gotta edit this thing today. Like on the Saturdays, like exactly what I'm talking about.
yeah.
But I would do it, and that is what I would spend my time on, and it was fun because it unlocked like a creative side of me that I had no idea even existed. I think if you ask me from 5 years ago, like, hey, or even 3 years ago, it's like, hey, Avi, like, how would you describe yourself? Like, creative is not a word that I would use
um,
at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so, you know, now I think I'm definitely way more my like authentic true self. I give a lot of credit to just like therapy and self-work and just like shifting my mindset.
But
Um, where yeah, like I think not I think I know I am a creative person. And this was such a cool way and a unique way to be able to like see that this was actually me and express it. Because even for like dental school, like if you were to talk to me in dental school, I'm like, oh, like, do you like the art or creative part of it? I would be like, like that wasn't necessarily it. Um,
right.
but yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. Like it, you. The funny thing is, like you said, you don't think you're a creative person, but I think everyone's naturally a creative person just because we're all narrating our own life in some way. So just like living life in itself and taking a direction and committing to something brings you to a point where you have to test yourself in different ways. And this was for you doing the visual arts now is a different way of expressing yourself. And I'm happy for you to be able to like express who you are and be genuine and be your true self. And a lot of that, like you said, comes with self-work, which is something that I'm doing and have been doing for the last year. And that's probably why there has been growth with the podcast. But what was like the moment where you realized that your content or the stuff that you're putting out there is actually resonating with a larger audience? Is there like a particular video or particular moment in time that you recall that being like, oh wow, like I'm being seen?
So I think the biggest, well, so there was two things, right? I think initially I knew it was resonating because I would actually get, because I was posting both. I was doing YouTube and I was doing Instagram.
Uh,
But my content on Instagram was more clear aligner focused, right? But I knew I was making an impact because whenever I wanted to stop and give up, I would get a DM from somebody and they would just be, hey, love your content. Just wanted to tell you that. I had no idea who this stranger was. And I'd be like, okay, I guess I got to go make some content.
yeah,
So
I
that
hear
was
you.
kind of, you know what I mean? So that was,
Yeah,
that was happening. And I just used that as a signal and I would be like, cool. And without a doubt, like, whenever I had those thoughts,
right.
somebody random would reach out. And then, that helped me stay consistent and build a muscle. But my true, I guess, like boom, I think happened last summer, like
Boom.
in May or June. Um, one post, one reel that I put out, it was about basically me just like bringing light and recognizing and like seeing other dentists and like letting them know like, hey, you know, there's like, you're doing great. People don't say it enough. We don't give ourselves enough credit. And then that, in a very positive note, started to like, people were sharing it like on their
Mm-hmm.
stories, which then increased the views, which then I think signaled the algorithm like, hey, this page is like hot. So that was like a big spike in views. And then I kind of doubled down on that style of content, which was just me essentially at a coffee shop or just sitting around, just recording in quick little snips and posting. And then the true boom is when I called out the entire industry, and I was just like, dental industry is toxic. You know, previous generations take like the bad things that happen to them, and for some reason feel the need to pass it on to the next generation, which prevents them from growing, and creates this toxic cycle. And that thing like popped off,
Good.
and so that is when it did two things. It completely divided my audience. It was all the younger, like it's not even younger docs, it's all the docs who had been victims of that commented, and I think became like bigger believers. And then the people who were part of, the suppressing and all that, I think I lost like, I don't think I've had a day where I've lost and gained so many followers like at once, but I gained way more than I lost. um
I,
so, but yeah, that was kind of like a moment where I was like, okay, I'm like speaking my truth, right? That was my
right.
truth, and it's what's resonating with people. And so I'm like, okay, I think this is where I need to stay. Staying in that area for a while, like you'll get good growth, but it can get dicey because people started like coming after me in my DMs and like just saying really, really mean things in the comments. And so I had to like learn how to deal with that. And so now I know if I'm posting a spicy post or not. And if it's going to be spicy, I just I just don't look at my phone. Like I just post it and walk away.
I was gonna ask you, like, how do you manage those emotions? So it's like putting polarizing content or like provoking content. Obviously, it's gonna create some kind of reaction, right? And you can't make everyone happy.
Nope.
But then I feel like that emotional burden is also gonna be really frustrating. How do you
Yeah.
know that that you're doing the right thing?
No, it is. It's tough. I think you're not going to hit it out of the park the first time, and the first time you do it's going to suck, like in terms of getting that negative feedback. Because I think for me, when I first started posting, it was very much like a positive page, empowerment. And it was good. I think I loved it. I thought the content was amazing, but didn't really perform well. But it was my message and my mindset, and I was just trying to share my energy.
Right.
But yeah, the polarizing content where you are speaking your truth is where growth happens. That is where deeper connections happen. Because if I say something and it's something that you specifically have also experienced and thought about, but you just haven't actually said or told anybody, if I say that and you see
Mm-hmm.
it, you're going to be like, oh my God, this guy's in my head. Like that's exactly. And then you become a fan, right?
Yeah.
We all do that. Like there's people who have said stuff that I'm huge fans of, and it's because of that. But there's also so many people that don't resonate with that you just have to be okay with losing. And this is where it comes in. I know you've talked about this before, is like if you're a people pleaser and you're trying to make everybody happy, it's you're not going to make anybody happy, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think for me though, like most of the time when I knew it was going to be, a little bit of a polarizing content, I would like my tactic after would be to try to resist looking at like the app, like just literally putting my phone in another room, going for a walk, and just kind of letting it be. But then afterwards, if I would go in and I would read it. I'm human, but I would just realize that these people that are saying negative things and mean stuff, that's just a projection of them. It's not me. Like that's it. And once I detached from that, and then I also focused on all the people who felt compelled enough to comment and support, I was like, this is who it's for. Like it's for
Right.
those people.
Well, kudos to you, because every time I post something, I'm like constantly checking my phone. Like my energy and my mind is just like wanting to see if it's well received. And so like I feel like I waste a lot of time just like double checking the app, refreshing the app. And I don't think that's a good a good way to do things. I need to learn how to like disassociate a little bit. But I have to ask you, if you put all this like dicing stuff out there, do you ever feel, or did you ever feel like your employer was going to find out?
So
Did they ever find out?
they did. They followed me. But it wasn't. No, it wasn't about. So that's the thing. Is the negative stuff I was sharing was not real time. Right. It was, and when I would share, it would be ambiguous, and this ambiguous enough. Like I worked at an office where this happened. Like you don't name names. Like you don't have to, unless you feel compelled to call out that office, go for it. But my advice is try not to use names. I think that's like a professional line to kind of keep it at. But I don't hold back from like details of like what went down, how it happened, and my perspective. The office that I was at when I posted it was not the office that was actually part of that toxic cycle. It was like pretty much every previous office, or not every, but most of them. So, but yeah, I would say like if you're making content for you, your followers, like whoever's making content, and you have an employer, my advice is like, look, there's a chance they see it and there's a chance they don't, but I don't think you should mute yourself out of fear of like losing your job, right? Because that can really silence you. I just think maybe like there's a way to go about it, right? Like you don't have to name them. You don't like if you don't do that, then it could be applied to anybody, right? And then if they feel like it's targeted at them, well, I mean, if you didn't name any names or nothing like that, you can be like, no, that was a previous office. Like how can they prove it?
Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, totally true. I mean, yeah, you make a good point. Sometimes I fear posting my day to day because of that very same thing. Because my employer does follow me on Instagram and has mentioned like, I wish you talked about this, which is nice, right? Because obviously they're following and they're supporting, but at the same time, it makes me a little weary because I'm like, oh, if I say something, they might feel like it is targeted towards them, and how is that going to affect the relationship?
And so I'm not telling you to do this, but what I've done is I've actually blocked people that I didn't want to hear stuff from. Not because they were saying anything malicious, but like, for example, when I was like transitioning out of an office, it was tough. And I had actually like blocked like the hygienists, like it was at a DSO. So there was no like direct owner.
Right.
They were like the main partners. And I blocked them. And I did, because it's just like, I don't want them to see this, but like, I also don't want to, because part of my brand is also I keep it real, right? Like that's what's gotten me to where I'm at today. Like I tell it how it is. I'm going to share the truth. I'm not going to like hide from it. And so I felt the need when I was transitioning from an office, like, hey, this is a 90-day freaking period that I have to give before I can leave. Like this sucks. Like this sucks. Like I couldn't do any big cases because for clear liners, like obviously the case is longer than 3 months. So it's like I didn't start cases. So I was making less money. It was really hard to like, yes, I was treating each patient that I saw with care, but it was super hard to like pour in more because I knew I was not going to be there. You know what I mean? And it's just like my mood was different. It's just hard. Like 3 months of like having to go into a job where like you're already mentally moved on and like they're forcing you to stay. And I get it. It's a contract. Like you got to do it, which I did. I served my time. It's just like, it becomes toxic, and it's like, I wanted to make sure that people who were following me knew what I was going through because I do share. And so I just made the choice to like block certain people from the company because they just didn't need to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's also therapeutic for you because if you don't share that, then who are you going to tell? Right.
Well, then I feel like I'm an imposter. Like, oh, now when I post about my great job that I'm getting in 3 months, everyone's going to be like, wow, Dr. Evie's life is so amazing. It's like, no, like this period actually sucked.
Yeah.
It wasn't enjoyable. And this is me going through it. Like, making sure that I like go get coffee every day to make me like feel better. Like it was just different things, but it was
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm sure there's people, and I don't know if you saw any of that stuff, but like I was just trying to keep it real.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the small things count. Like you said, getting coffee like affects your mood, changes your attitude, just reminds you that, you know, you can make it through the day. But like you said, you're doing all this posting, all this sharing, you're being your true self. And clearly it's resonated with people and you've had this huge success. How has social media impacted your career as a dentist, as a clinician, but now as an entrepreneur?
So as a dentist, I never got a single patient. This is what's so cool about social media. You can use it to fuel whatever it is that you want to fuel. So I was not using social media to get patients. I was using social media to bring value to dentists and get potential doctors to work with me, either through my like clear liner consulting or my program, which I ended up creating. So it helped me clinically in the sense of, or as a dentist, I think it helped me build connections. Like it helped me meet other dentists. Like we met through social media. You know, I
Yeah.
met Dr. Steven through social media. I've met a bunch of dentists that I'm sure people are following. I've been able to just have conversations with them. And like, you know, like Dr. Joy from Houston, like we're friends now. She's here in Austin, like ran into her yesterday randomly. Like it's just like, it's very cool. So it helped me, I think, as a clinician build a bond in
Uh-huh.
this dental community. Um, and that's for me personally. And then for as an entrepreneur, it has helped. I mean, it's been essentially this like a marketing tool for me. Like I've learned how to market my program and create my brand all through social media. And I also learn from other people on the platform because I'll watch other people's stuff and, you know, take what they're doing and try to implement it. So, yeah. And then I think also social media is like what allowed me in terms of that transition to be able to stop practicing, to go full-time entrepreneur because it was helping feed the business, which is super cool.
Oh, that's amazing. Uh, you're like, what do you think social media is? Do you have to focus on one outlet? Do you just need to focus on Instagram, or do you have to focus on Instagram and YouTube and maybe TikTok? Because there's so many different channels that you could push through, right?
Yep.
And it could be overwhelming. But do you think building a brand requires you to invest in each one of these, or do you need to just focus on one?
So I would say in the beginning you focus on one, right? And then it's like, okay, well, which one do you focus on? Two ways to look at it. If you are, if you don't really know the direction where you're going, but you just want to have a presence and create a brand, that's fine. And if you do that, pick the platform that you like the most. What do you use the most? What do you enjoy? Because your brand is going to attract other people who are similar to you. So if you're constantly on that platform, chances are the people who are like you are also on that platform. Now, if you are trying to like start a business and you want to, you know, be strategic about it, go on the platform where most of your ideal potential customers are. Right? And so if you're trying to go after like older dentists, you should go to Facebook. If you want to go and be in front of newer dentists, you should go to Instagram. If you want to, you know, go in front of, Gen Z, go TikTok. So it's like YouTube. But in my opinion, I think like if I had to go back and do it over again, or even just do it today in this climate, I would focus on YouTube and Instagram because on YouTube you can make long form content. So you can make like, you know, 4-minute, 8-minute videos. And then from those you can cut them up and use them as short form. But that's not the only way to do it. I personally do believe that when you're starting off, you should be physically making the content on the platform. So like you make long videos for YouTube and then separately you can make reels on Instagram. And then whatever reels you make for Instagram, you can then post as a YouTube short, right? But I would not spread over. I have a TikTok profile. I use Loomly. So Loomly is a tool that kind of posts for you. And my stuff goes on TikTok and I'll pop it open every once in a while. And yeah, there's no focus there. But the content is on there. But that's just not where the dentists who I'm trying to, to connect with are. They're not on that platform. So yeah, that's my advice. Definitely pick one, and go from there.
Yeah, I can't go on TikTok. It's too overwhelming for me. I feel like there's just so much content coming out of there, and it's just overwhelming. Do you?
It's wild.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's also not my audience. Like I can't deal with that. I mean, this might sound bad, but like that Gen Z, I don't understand Gen Z. Not for me.
Look, and some people, and the fact that you have the awareness, and so you're going where you need to go. Some people feel, FOMO and whatnot. They want to be in, but it's just like, just do what you're comfortable with. Like, if it's just pick a platform. There's a platform for everybody. You just got to pick one.
So if someone wanted to start their like online brand or maybe presence, forget brand, just to have a presence, what would you recommend they do?
Post every day.
Every day. It doesn't matter the content.
Nope. I would post something. So like, if it's that generic, right? If it's just like they just want to start creating a presence or a brand, you gotta start just showing what you're doing. What are you working on? What are you thinking about? What's your perspective? Like, and then I think when you start to kind of, because the thing is like, if you're working on a brand and you want it to be authentic, then that's just how you have to share. You just have to share what's authentic. Like if you're doing nothing on a Saturday, like you can share that. You don't need to go manufacture something that you do on Saturdays to make your life look awesome.
Right.
I don't really like, I'll probably resonate more with the person who's chilling at their house on a Saturday or chilling in their apartment than the person who's like out at brunch, you know what I mean? Every single Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to build a presence, and you want it to be authentic, share something every day. If you want to build a business, then you post about your niche as often as you can. And that's a whole nother, maybe that's like a whole nother podcast, breaking down how to start posting online for a business. But presence and brand, which I think every dentist needs. I think if you are a young dentist and you want to be successful, not just in the industry, but just in life, it's like you have to have a presence. Because so there's a saying that's been going around that I heard. It's like back in the day, it used to be it used to be about what you know, right? It used to be about what you know, and then it became who you know, right? Like who you know is going to dictate a lot of your life, and then now it's about who knows you, right? And so how do you get people to know you? Well, you have to have a presence on social media. You don't need to be on a billboard. You don't need to like be in a magazine. You don't need to like do all that. Just you can be in everybody's pocket every single day by posting on social media. That's it. It's that easy. And I say it in that tone because I want people to I want to drop the bar. Like I want everybody to realize the bar, like the barrier of entry is so low. And it's never been lower. And then I also heard this on another podcast where someone was just like, we are in a world where there are more famous people than ever before, but nobody knows each other.
Interesting fact.
Right? Like you could probably name 3 like famous dentists who have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers. But you can go to your neighbor and you're like, hey, do you know this doctor? Or do you know this person? And they'd be like, who the hell's that? But they're famous to you, right? So it's kind of crazy. And these are all normal people. Like these are all normal people who just like post consistently and then have found a way to connect, right, with people who are similar or like-minded. And it has grown. And that's kind of how socializing works. If you think about it, like you are meeting people in person every single day. Like I know you like to go for walks and you're by the river. Like imagine if you saw the same person every single day on that walk at that river. You both kind of came to the same. Wouldn't you eventually probably be like, hey, see you here every day. Like what's going on? Right? Like you would just naturally make a connection with them. And you've probably already done that. But like, that's the same thing. It's just online.
Yeah. Do you think you need to have a separate like personal account from a professional account if you're going to share everything, or can you just do
it depends
one?
On the person. It depends on the person, like and who and how like comfortable you are. Some people I know are comfortable blurring the lines because that is their brand and they want, you know, they lean into that. I personally only have one. I had that kind of in the beginning. I was debating, oh, should I have a professional or should I have my personal? And then I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be keeping it real, like, why not just keep it real all the way through? You know, because here's the thing is like whatever you're afraid of posting or sharing, like if that's something that you don't want your patients to know, right, or your employer or whatever it is, it's just like you're still putting it out there. So like people are still they're gonna know, like they're gonna find out. I think it's just maybe an exercise that you just have to kind of like just maybe do an exercise just to see like how comfortable you are like in your own skin. And I think most people who are pretty comfortable in their own skin are pretty okay with like having, you know, that one page. Now, if you have like a dental practice that you're opening, yeah, you should have a dental practice page and then you should have like your page. Because at the end of the day, like people also just want to see what you're about. So it's like if you've got this professional dental page, right? Like your doctor page and then your regular page, it's just like, cool. Thanks for the feed with like all the veneer cases. This looks like every other Instagram page. I'm just going to swipe away. There's nothing really here for me. But if that is your outlet, you love, like you want to make your portfolio and do that, I get it. You're just not like, you're just going to attract other people who like to stare at teeth. Like that's what you're going to do. You're not actually going to form like a genuine connection with anybody. So yeah.
You make a good point. Do you think that dentists underutilize social media at the moment?
Yeah, 100%. I think they under and misutilize it.
What are some misconceptions you think they have about social media?
I think some of them think that it doesn't work because they think that I think that they think in the realm of like you get a lot of reach and exposure with social media. I think a lot of dentists think that, oh, well, I don't want to waste time and money posting on there because I can't treat somebody who lives in the UK when my practice is in California. But it's like, that's not how it works. Like, one, that's awesome that somebody in the UK knows about you because I guarantee you they probably know someone who lives in California who can come and be your patient. Like, it's the degrees of separation. So like have an abundance mindset and realize the more people that know you, the better. But two, if you're consistently posting and you're at these places, like the algorithm also knows to put your account in front of other local people. Like it's not like it, you know, it throws you all the way across. So like that's a huge misconception. Also, if you are trying to like use it to market for patients, like you can get very targeted once you start like putting money in to like do like very targeted ads if you want to go that route, which a lot of dental practices do. I think another misconception is like ditch the stock photos, please. Like,
oh yeah,
nobody
totally
wants to see a dental practice with freaking stock photos. Like, just even if it's not, I actually like the accounts where you can tell Susan from the front recorded the reel. Cause I'm just like, all right, I'm about to see what really goes on in this practice. And it's just like, I don't know, like I like it when, cause that to me is like, cool, your team is having fun or trying to have fun to make content at the workplace. And like that's what that tells me. I don't care if it's like one of the, you know, ugly fonts with like the shadow in the back and it's like, you know, it's just like chaos. Like that's fine. That's not why I'm watching it, but it's like it tells a different story. Like there are people in this practice who are trying. And I think that resonates a lot. So that's the other thing is like, and don't think that you need perfect content. Like your content does not need to be perfect. You can have mistakes, you know, because I think we even talked about this last time I was on, is just like the content that you think is going to perform the best is usually the one that doesn't, and it's the one that you least expect is the one that pops off. Like that's usually what it is, right? So yeah, I think those are a lot of the common misconceptions. I think that dentists are thinking too small. I think younger dentists, I think it's awesome that this next generation of dentists are making vlogs. They have YouTube they have followers. They're documenting their time in school. I think that's super, super cool. I think I would have loved to watch dental students while I was an undergrad or even while I was in dental school just to see how, like I went to NYU. It's like, what's life like at Columbia? I mean, follow this creator. You know what I mean? Like that would have been cool. Um, so I think they're sitting on a gold mine. I think they all don't realize how big their brands are because, you know, they have an ability to, I mean, they all have audiences. They're building audiences, a couple thousand, you know, some of them are bigger than that, but like you keep doing that and then now you go to practice, like it's crazy because if you stay, like, let's put on the clinical hat. Let's like keep it where it's like, cool, this is going to be a young dentist and they want to be a killer dentist and they want to go be a successful associate somewhere. If you graduate and you've built a following and you're also making like patient facing content, like one, you're documenting your journey, but then you're also kind of like, you know, sharing your thoughts on dentistry, how you can help people, your passions, all that stuff. And like your content is targeted to the public. Like there's going to be patients and people out there who want to be your patient. And so if you continue to share your life and your journey, and now you go work at a practice and you have however many followers, 10,000 followers, 5,000, whatever, like you can actually leverage social media to drive patients into the practice. So that doctor is hiring you not only to do dentistry, but you also have leverage where you're like, oh yeah, and I got patients who are going to come in and who want to see me. So it's like, that is like a sleeping giant in our industry. And practice owner, like, please do not listen to practice owners because they, one, they don't understand this game, and two, they can't even wrap their heads around it. They can't even get a marketing agency to, like, they don't even know how to use a marketing agency to fill their schedule. So like if you are a dentist and you're young and you're making content for patients, like you're doing your whole, like, this is how you brush, this is how you floss, but like with your spin, and like if you're doing that and you have a bunch of patients who are following you, like they're going to want to get treated by you, and you need to recognize that. And then that is value. And so you should not actually be, you know, compensated or have a structure the same way that another dentist who doesn't have any presence. And I say that might be divisive, but I say it because you've got an audience. That's a currency. Like if you have people's attention and trust, and now they're going to come to the practice just because you work there, it's gold. And so I don't know if you've heard about them, but Share, this is like, Share is, they're in Canada right now. It's really cool. It's founded by a couple dentists. Akil is, I think maybe he is the solo founder, but he basically, what they're doing is they're creating a platform where they are helping like associates get exposure to patients. So where patients now are looking for a dentist, they're looking for a dentist, not a dental practice. So if I'm in New York City and let's say Shares here in the States, I don't think it is yet. Right? And I'm just like looking on there and I'm like, oh, Ellie, oh, who's Dr. Ellie? Oh, this is what she does. Let me look her up. Oh, wow, Ellie has a podcast. Oh, wow, she seems super passionate about this stuff. Oh, she's kind of cool. All right, where's Ellie? Like, I'm going to go see her. They don't care what practice, right? They don't care if you're the owner or not. So it's like super cool. They're like trying to empower the associates. And so I'm looking at this. I'm like, yo, if you guys are creating this, all these dentists need to have their own brands. Like they need it because it's just, that's the, I see like that's the gap.
Right.
But that gap can be closed if dentists just start creating.
That's incredible. I haven't heard it was shared, but that's a brilliant idea. I think it's genius, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, check them out and reach out to them. They're super cool. SHAIR
Okay.
is their name. Yeah, and they're doing a bunch of cool stuff. I mean, I think I've talked to them a couple times about it, and I'm helping them out with some, just some of the marketing stuff, but on a very high level. But yeah, he's explained it to me a couple times, and it's crazy. So he graduated dental school, opted not to practice, and he's just building this company.
Good pal. Very proud.
Yeah, this guy's like mad scientist, super cool, sees the problems in the industry, and he's trying to just make it better. So super interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, and I was going to ask you, just piggybacking off that, like, you know, these are some new innovative things, and you're saying how people need to create a brand for themselves, have something, their digital footprint, because it's important. It's like, it's your business card, right? What are some trends that you see happening between social media and dentistry? Like what are some, I guess, how would I say this? What are some trends that you think are going to happen, or how do you think that relationship is going to change where someone can like maybe prepare themselves to take advantage of that opportunity?
Yeah, I think the dentists who are open to it are going to be able to have a leg up. And what I mean by that is like Joyce the dentist, for example. She is leveraging social media to where she doesn't even need a marketing agency. So like a trend that I see is like if you're a dentist and you do cases and you want patients, if you focus on making content and make that a part of your marketing strategy, like you can get consistent patients to book and come and see you. So like that's a trend that I think has been happening. I think another trend is it's not going to even be about your website. I think your website, your practice website's important, but I actually think your Instagram page or your dental office, or or even as a practitioner, like your page is more important. Like I don't know about you, but nowadays, like we're still in the generation that we'll go to Google, right?
Yeah.
But more often than not, I catch myself, it's the very next thing I'm going to Instagram. And some people just go to Instagram and like that's the website. They look you up. They look up the business. They look up the person. They go through a couple posts. They say who's tagged. They click on the tag. They see what they're about. And they're like, oh, like it's just we're creatures who want connection and we want to know. And I think every doc that leans into authentically sharing like what their practice is and what their day-to-day looks like, so that way a prospective patient can see what they can expect, that is going to totally help with like the anxiety, right? Because part of anxiety is the unknown. So there's anxiety about the procedure, the anxiety about like, there's also the anxiety about the office. Who is going to greet me? How am I going to feel? What are we going to talk about? Like, what's the process? Like, what's the next step? Like, when are they going to shove that like big X-ray thing in my mouth? Like it's, you know what I mean? So it's if you can prep people for that in a fun, creative way, why wouldn't people be a little bit more excited to come in? You know what I mean? And I think it just helps lower that anxiety because you're just able to kind of demystify it for them. Because a lot of people are just clueless when it comes to what goes down at the dental office.
Very much. Well, I want to say you've done so much with social media. You've also become you got awarded Dental Influencer of the Year, which is a big
That
deal.
was nuts. That was nuts.
Isn't that crazy? That's amazing. Like I didn't even know such an award existed, but you created it. Like you made it happen.
Yeah, honestly, was not a goal at all. Like I did not even like you said, I didn't even know it existed. I found out, I got an email when I was like a finalist. And they just emailed me like, hey, like you're a finalist for Dental Influencer of the Year. And I was just like, at first I was like, is this like a joke? Like, sometimes emails come in and you're like, but then I saw like who else was on the list and I'm like, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
And then I posted about it and I was just like, hey guys, I'm a finalist for this award, would appreciate, because I wasn't even promoting it, marketing it, nothing. I didn't even know it existed. So people organically just like nominated me and then voted. And so that I was like super grateful for and humbled by, because I was like, damn, like people kind of like, people feel this way.
Right.
And I thought it was super cool. But yeah, and then I won and I got a cool like plaque over there. It's like one of the, I don't usually win awards, but that's like the only award that I have up. So it's pretty cool.
No, that's great because it tells you you're making an impact. People are listening, people are following. And now you're at a point where you have your education program. Like, what are you up to next? Like, what is the next big project for you?
Yeah. So everything that I've been doing to this day has been online, right? Like when I first started, when I was helping docs with aligners, I was doing in-person, like one-on-one coaching and consulting. And then I went full online for the last 2 years. And then a buddy of mine was like, dude, you should do an in-person event, like a retreat or something. I'm like, no, that's not me. Like, I'm all about online. Like everyone wants online. He's like, and he was telling me for like 6 months, he's like, dude, you need to do this. And I'm like, I don't have the time, I'm not going to do it. He actually helps people plan retreats and stuff. So eventually I'm like, fine, I'll work with you, tell me what I got to do, let's give it a shot. And so yeah, I put out a post, and I put a poll on my story, and people voted. Um, and then one of the docs hopped on a call with me, and then she was just like, yeah, I told her I didn't even have a date set, and she was like, I'm down, and I was like, okay.
Done.
Yeah, I was like, it's gonna be in October, and I was like, are you busy any of the weeks? He's like, as long as it's not the first weekend, and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'll make sure it's not the first weekend. And then she like paid, and she was super excited because she said, she's just like, I've been following you for a while. I really enjoy learning from you, but I hate online, because she's just like, it becomes another thing to do.
And
And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that was a thing. She's just like, I would rather just be there in person and like learn it and connect and do all that and just be immersed in it. That was the word she used. And I was
then
like, wow, okay, cool. So then I kept doing that. So that is what I'm working on. I mean, it's art, and now it's happening. It's actually, there's a date. It's October 25th and 26th in Austin. And it's actually going to be, I'm very excited, mainly because it's not going to be your traditional like dental course or dental conference. It's only 12 dentists. They are all beginners when it comes to aligners. Some people have never done a case. Other people have done some cases, but they're trying to get, more efficient or better at it. And the unique thing is, like, it's going to be at an Airbnb. So I got an Airbnb. This is a very millennial thing. It's going to be at an Airbnb, and then we're going to do like mastermind sessions as well. So half the time during the day, I'm going to I'll be lecturing and teaching, and then the other half is mastermind sessions. So, let's say you came and you were just like, hey, I'm struggling with this, like, my team's not scanning, or it's really hard to get my front desk to talk about it. Us, all 12 of us or 11 of us, would then essentially share our perspective and help you through that problem, so that way you can go home on Monday and actually have like an action plan on how you're going to relieve that bottleneck to be able to continue to go on top of everything else that you're going to learn. And then we're going to do like a cool social event here in Austin with a dinner and stuff like that. So I'm pumped. Right now, when we're recording this, we're at 50% capacity, so 6 of the 12 spots are full. But would love to have anybody who feels like they would benefit from it.
How does someone sign up?
Easiest way is the website. So it's clearlineradvisor.co/confidence bootcamp. So I know it's kind of long. I'll message it to you if you wanna if you want to put it out there, or if you just shoot me a DM on Instagram and just say, hey, I want to come to the boot camp. I can send you the information as well.
That sounds incredible. Ali, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. No, I'm so glad that we were able to do this again. Again, I love watching your growth. I love seeing your interviews. Like, you are connecting with so many people, and you're having such good conversations that so many people need to hear. And clearly you are also making an impact, which I knew you would. I'm not going to say I told you so, but
I appreciate you. It means a lot.
I am going to say it because when we first talked and you were telling me what you wanted to do and where you were at, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. You've come a long way, and you're still, as long as you don't stop, you will not lose.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow our podcast, write a review, leave a comment. Anything you share with us goes a long way. And if you think a friend will appreciate this podcast, then make sure you share it with them too. Until next time, cheers.